To those of you watching or listening, you may recognize the theme from Wagon Train. I can't tell you what an honor this is for me. I am here today to be joined by Denny Miller, actor, former UCLA Bruin, author, and just a very kind gentleman who has been more than undeservedly kind to yours truly. Denny has an incredibly long career in movies and television and fitness and authorship. Starting from playing basketball at UCLA with John Wooden and the UCLA Bruins, and coming into the television scheme of things, and then with Wagon Train and a number of guest appearances in films. And Denny, I can't tell you what an honor it is. What's the temperature like in Las Vegas today?
So what do I got to say about that? I wish that was me, but it's a toy. I could never come close to doing the yell. I sounded kind of like a wounded yak.
Now, did you ever run into Johnny Weissmuller and ask him about that?
I didn't ask him, but I asked Buster Crabbe, and Buster told me that Johnny was the closest at doing the yell because he could yodel. He was, his parents were from Germany or Switzerland, someplace over there, and he could come close on the high notes. When I judge Tarzan yells across the country at film festivals, women always win. Little girls, the children's section, and mature women, the women's section, and the guys come far last.
Boy, it's really something, and you know, and that yell is, everybody knows what that yell is. That's the incredible thing. That's like, you know, we have a part of our brain that says, oh yeah, that's the Tarzan yell.
Yeah, Carol Burnett came close to doing it.
She was good. But
there are four, I'm told, fictional characters that are known around the world, and that's Superman, Batman, Mickey Mouse, and Tarzan.
And you had the honor of being Tarzan in 1959. Now, and put it this way, I might want to start back a little bit for that, because I'm a huge Tarzan fan, but how did you come from Indiana to California?
My dad was a teacher, and he had a job in New York for John D. Rockefeller, and he headed up the American Hospital Association, which was, you know, get on your bike and ride to the next hospital. And he got an offer to teach at UCLA, so the family, when I was a senior, going to be a senior in high school, packed up and came to Los Angeles, and I was there, we were there about a week after school started, and I was the only guy that I know of west of the Mississippi that shot a basketball with two hands. Because we were still way behind the West Coast. And I remember Dad took me to Madison Square Garden one time, and we watched Stanford play I don't know who, and I got back to school the next Monday, and I got the guys on the basketball team at practice and said, "You won't believe what I saw. I saw a Stanford play, and everybody that played had a tan and shot with one hand, and they wouldn't believe me."
What a world! And how did you get to play for John Wooden?
Well, the high school I went to in L.A., University High School, was several miles away from the UCLA campus. And Dad went to Indiana University, and Coach Wooden went to Purdue just down the road, and in the 30s, they played against each other, so they'd known each other for years. And I got an offer from Coach John and UCLA for a full ride for basketball, and that's how I came past. I had made All-City in Los Angeles high schools, and played basketball later on with the guy who made center, Willie Knowles.
Yes, with a pro career. Now, when you were growing up, were you primarily a basketball player, and or did you play other sports? And just curious to know who your sports heroes were.
Oh, I was a pretty good quarterback. I was tall for quarterbacks back in those ages. I think I was about 6'3" then. But I was sneaky. I was 5'11" and weighed 119. I didn't have a shadow till I was 21.
That's so. You play? I mean, did you play any baseball?
Yeah, I did. I played shortstop, and I played Kiwanis ball. And a couple of the parents, when they found out our family was moving, they offered to put me up in their homes, but Dad wouldn't have any of it. And luckily, I listened to him and came west with the family.
I understand. Now, I mean, what can you really say about John Wooden as far as the type of man, the type of coach, the principles, and what was it like playing for him, and what are some some of the stories you have playing for UCLA?
Coach Wooden was a poet in the locker room. He had taught English in high school and college. He was a quiet man. He was a 3-time All-American. At the end of his coaching career, he was one of 2, I guess, players and coaches that was in the Players and Coaches Hall of Fame. I always told people that rules were rules, and they weren't to be broken. And if you did break the rules, you sat on the bench next to him. I was a pretty good basketball player. I would tell people that the reason I made the coach's team was that I was dating his daughter, Nancy, and he'd rather have me sitting next to him on the bench than anywhere else with Nancy.
And I know we're going to show a picture up here in a moment of you and your brother with Coach Wooden.
Oh yeah,
holding the basketball.
That's my mouse pad.
And you always heard. I mean, I remember Bill Walton talking about just the discipline. That one day Bill Walton decided he wanted to go to a demonstration protest, and he missed practice, and he came back in, and Coach Wooden said, "I'm very proud of you, William. You have convictions, and so do I. You're going to sit tonight's game because you missed practice." And it's, Denny, where have these values gone? It's a shame. It really is.
I agree. Basketball used to be a game of finesse. It used to be I call basketball players Nurievs and sneakers. They, I think, and still are the best athletes in the world. Mm-hmm. But the game has gotten out of hand. Nobody dribbles without carrying the ball. If you play center, you have to stand at a 45-degree angle just to stay on the court. People are shoving and fighting, and when they knock a guy down and then go over and stand over him and pop him, was your coach, you would be sitting on the bench right away.
Yeah, it's just really, really sad. The fact that you kind of give us this insight into Coach Wooden. It's a man I admired for many, many years, and I thank you for that. But From what I understand, and you can tell our viewers and our listeners, you had sort of a very odd way of getting into the entertainment business, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I had no idea when I was at that age that I would be ever on television. I was going to be a coach of basketball or football because I knew even then that I didn't have the talent to get to the next level. But when the summer comes around and you're a jock, most of them get jobs, mostly physical jobs, and mine was moving furniture in the Los Angeles area. And I was pushing a desk chair down Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood to put it on a truck. And I hear some guy's horn honk and yell, "Hey, you, come here." And I looked over and some guy had stopped his car, a Carmen Ghia. Remember those little
Yeah, I
old
sure
cars
do,
anyway?
yeah. Yeah, I had one.
He said, "Come over here." And I said, "Me? Yeah, you." I went over and I just about got there and he yells at me, "Let me see your hairline." And I thought, uh-oh, we got a kook hair. I don't know what. And I pulled my hair back with my hand, said, "How about that?" and turned around and was going to go away, and I heard a voice over my shoulder, and he said, "Here, take my card and give me a call." I turned around, got the card, and he drove off. Well, I looked at the card, and he was a talent agent. And I went back in the warehouse, and the guy that was my boss was in there, and he says, "Where the heck you been?" I said, and I started to tell him the story. He says, "Yeah, right. Here, take this chair and put it on the truck." And we took all the desks and chairs to an office where 5 other talent agents had their offices. And 3 of them gave me their cards. I ended up with 4 cards. Never happened before, never happened since. I went home, I threw them in my sock drawer and forgot about it. I went back and the dispatcher said, "The guy called, wants you to call him," gave me a piece of paper with his number on it. I threw it away. That happened 2 days. The dispatcher said, "If you don't call this guy, you're fired." And I got the message, and I called him. He said, "Come on over, and we'll read a script together." And I said, "Well, I'm really not interested." And he said, "Well, come on, it won't take much of your time." I went over, we read a script, an old Gary Cooper movie, just one scene. He said, "Okay, go home, go wherever you live, what do you want to do, and I'll give you a call." And 2 weeks later, he called me, and I got a screen test. So my big problem was my fraternity brothers, who were in theater arts, didn't understand why a guy pushing furniture down Hollywood Boulevard had a contract, and they were still studying Shakespeare.
Yeah, it's really something. So you found your way into television. Now, what was your first acting or television role that you happened to be in?
William Bendick's Life of Riley.
Wow.
Remember that old thing?
Yeah, I sure do.
Anyway,
yeah, I'm a big Bendix
I
fan.
played. His real daughter was playing his daughter in the TV show, and I was a basketball player. And we sat in a swing on the set of his backyard in a studio soundstage, and sat there and swung back and forth on the swing and said our lines and ate an ice cream cone. And I said to myself, "They pay you for this?" I couldn't believe it. Anyway, that was the first thing I did, and since then I've been lucky enough to be working, 54 years now.
Yeah, and for sure. And I mean, you were such a presence and are such a presence for so many years. And I did want to talk to you about Tarzan, because I'll tell you, I'm a big Tarzan fan, and I was going to ask you about Joanna Barnes, because she, at least on watching her in the movie, extremely lovely lady. Do you keep in touch with her?
I've seen her just several times at Tarzan reunions. They call them dum-dums, D-U-M, It's supposed to mean the sound of the drums gathering the natives. And she was at several of them, and she looked great. And she's married to an architect. They live in Montecito, which is the Beverly Hills of Santa Barbara. It's really a beautiful place, and they live in the house that he designed that was so unusual that it was on the cover of Architectural Digest. She writes romantic novels. I think she's up to 9 now. I haven't read any of them, but we got along fine. She was Phi Beta Kappa at Wellesley private school back east, and was delightful. We had a little fight scene because she wakes up and here's this monster walking around in the treehouse, and in the scene, we rehearsed it, and she slapped me in the face, and I thought to myself, I've got to watch out for this gal. She's really going after me. Anyway, they said, okay, we'll shoot it. Then started, and here come another slap in the face, so I caught her hand, and she tried with her other hand, and I caught that hand too, and kind of unfriendly like threw her in the corner of the bamboo house we were in, and that was the end of it. The guy liked it, the director, and said, that's enough of that, and I was really kind of happy about that. We had some laughs, though, with the elephant and the chimpanzee, and one time we were all, Joanna was riding in back of me on the elephant, and I had the chimpanzee carrying him like a little baby in my arm, and the guy, the actor played the White Hunter, Cesare De Nova was his name.
Yes.
Always get an Italian to play a British play. Right. And we were going down a trail in the shot, and the camera was at least 100 yards further down, and there was no sound in it, so anybody behind me that the camera couldn't see could say anything. And about 15 yards into the trip, I hear Joanna lean against me and whisper, would you please get this monkey off of me? He's squeezing my boobs.
Oh, please. It's amazing. Now,
it just was a fun job.
It's, and then, and I'll tell you, as I was mentioning to your dear wife last night, my wife Kathy and I were watching Wagon Train, and it was a great episode. It was an episode with Ann Blythe, who's cute as a button, and to this day, and Ronald Reagan playing the male lead, and it was a great play of morality and commitment, duty to family, duty to Army, duty to responsibility. And perhaps not one of your longer roles in Wagon Train, but that must have really been an experience working on that show and some of the greats. What was it like to work with Ronald Reagan?
Oh, no, that was my classroom. Every week they'd have a new big name star, and they'd name the episode after the character the star played, and then they'd give them a whole bunch of money. And it was kind of taboo at that time for big name movie stars to do TV.
Mm-hmm.
It was
beneath them.
It was like you were on your way out as a movie star. And that was my classroom. I got to work with every big name star in 110 episodes, 36 of them were 90-minute shows. And we put out, not like today when you get 12 episodes of a show in one season. We did 34, 35, 36 seasons, even when they were 90-minute shows. So we worked most of the year. And it was just wonderful to be around and watch these seasoned stars work. and that was really my classroom. I had no idea what I was doing. I was a misplaced basketball player, but these people taught me everything I know about acting, and I'm still learning.
And
now that I know pretty much about it, I don't get any jobs anymore.
Well, we have you here, and we're so blessed to have you. You know, as far as like the folks you'll work with, I mean, the list is enormous. It reads like a who's who of motion picture, stage, and screen. Who made the greatest impressions upon you as you were, you know, working your way in the business and in the business?
Yeah, John McIntyre, naturally, would take Ward Bond's place on the Wagon Train show. And Ward Bond, I got lucky enough to work when he was still there.
Mm-hmm.
But a memorable thing, not too positive, was working with Betty Davis. And I played a sod-kicking, naive cowboy. And in the scene, rehearsal, we're face to face, Betty Davis and I, standing by a Conestoga wagon. And I give her my first line, and she just stares at me and walks out of the scene and goes over to the director, and loud enough for everybody to hear, she says, "Is he going to say it that way?" And by now I was a puddle of sweat. And the director said, "Well, yes, that's his character." "Oh, okay." And she walked back and motioned with her hand, said, "Give it to me again." And by that time, I was just a trembling idiot. But I got through it some way. But Barbara Stanwyck was more funny. We were goofing off one day, time to quit almost, and we had another scene to do. And she liked to play this character with a Confederate soldier's hat on and a bullwhip wrapped around her shoulder. And we heard the voice come out. It says, "Okay, guys, let's tell the jokes and go home." And everybody kind of quieted down. She was a real tiny lady.
Wow.
Brian Keith was impressive. He'd been an ex-Marine, and my brother was an ex-Marine, and we had a fight scene to do, and he was playing a guy who had a bullet in his skull, and he was going blind. And the stuntman came up to me, and in the scene, Brian was supposed to hit me with a rubber rifle. And the stuntman said, "Let me give you a clue. Here's some padding. Put it under your shirt, because especially when he's playing a blind guy, he's going to hit you. He's really going to hit you." And thank goodness that stuntman told me that, because he hit me. And if I hadn't had the padding under my shirt, I would have been black and blue for about a week.
Wow. And you know, the
but it was, you get to be a family when you get to work with the same group, with a guest star week after week, and that's one of the most memorable times I had, those 3.5 years. The other time was with a comic genius by the name of Peter Sellers. If you've never seen a movie called The Party.
Mm-hmm. I did a while back.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that was the most fun, I think, in 12 weeks I have ever had, because we made it all up. They didn't have a script. Blake Edwards, the producer, director, first day of the shot, he gathered the cast together and said, "I'll tell you what you're going to do for the next 12 weeks. You're going to follow that man." And he pointed to Peter Sellers over in the corner. He was kind of a loner guy, because he was making things up all the time. And we just had a delight.
It's it's an incredible legacy, and as far as we were very fortunate several weeks back to have Dawn Wells on, Marianne of Gilligan's Island, and she's a delight. She's a dear. And we asked about the characters, not the actresses playing them, but the characters of Marianne and the characters of Ginger. And realizing, I remember seeing you on those several episodes, and if you had to pick a favorite character, kind of like Denny, I'm dying to ask you this, to take home to Mama, would you be a Ginger guy or a Marianne guy?
I had to pick up Ginger one time, I think, in the scene. She was a big lady. I mean, not fat. She was just in great shape.
Mm-hmm.
But they were. I enjoyed working with both of them. But Ginger, on the one show I was in called Tonto the Hitman. I mean, if you play Tarzan, you get a lot of comedy parts,
mm-hmm.
which I enjoyed, because they make fun of him. And this was Tonto the Hitman. And we went to rehearse in her dressing room, which was decorated in 1880s decor.
Wow.
And she had this beautiful high-back carved chair. And I promptly sat down on it and broke the back of it all. She wasn't happy. And in the scene, she was supposed to slap me. And every rehearsal, the slap got harder. So hard that I had to put one leg out to stop me from, falling off the chair, what was left of it. But Jim Bacchus was a delight. He would turn into Mr. Magoo at 8 a.m. and he was Mr. Magoo unless he was in front of the camera for the next 10 years. I mean, he was just a silly, wonderful laugh walking on two legs.
And all of the characters you played, and Michael Dante, whom I believe has been we're both from the same town. Yeah, and just a gentleman, a friend of this show. He's been on a number of occasions. Just a dear man. We've gotten into the discussion about what it's like to be a character actor and having to play different things, and that must really be a lot of work to get into one character as opposed to another. And how do you mentally prepare for that?
I'm from the Spencer Tracy's School of Acting. When asked, I was told, what will you do, just like you asked me? And he said, memorize your lines and don't bump into the furniture.
Yeah, see, swing and hit. I get it. That's great advice. It's really
keep it simple.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the way I did it. I got to get in a big fight with Dracula, Jack Palance, one time in a series. He played the Santa Monica, California cop, and I take his daughter in the show, the character she played, and she was a cripple and was in a wheelchair, and I threw her and the chair in a pool, and that pissed off Jack's character, would you believe? And after that, we got in a big fight after he saved his daughter. And I would have, if I had to do it all over again, I would love to be in a position only to play comedic parts, because I love to hear people laugh, and I love it even more if I think I had something to do with what they were laughing at. But when you play some of the sad, evil creatures I played, I justified playing them in that I thought it was my job to make the performance so ugly, so frightening, that anyone who watched it would never want to go near it, that kind of a person. and I succeeded in quite a few.
Well,
My size didn't hurt. Back in those days, I was big for people in front of the camera. Now I'd be medium-sized.
Yeah, I do understand that. In our closing minutes, and it's amazing how quickly you travel on this show, I do not want to leave off the fact that you are out, you're at the meetings, you're writing books and teaching on fitness and obesity and diet and exercise and living a long and healthy life. You admonish me to stay healthy, and I so appreciate you for saying that. Where can our friends and fans pick up with seeing you, meeting you, having the pleasure as I have had, your current activities, where you're going to be? Why don't you let us all know that?
Well, the next place I go in August is Kanab, Utah. It's a Western film festival. Michael Dante probably will be there.
Wow.
Bobby Fuller, James Drury, Clint Walker.
I love Clint Walker.
Yeah.
I love him.
Talk about big.
Big man, yeah.
He's a middle linebacker.
Yeah.
Or tight end. They can also go, my latest book is called Me Tarzan, You Train. I think we've been fed a lie, a myth for generations, and that's one of the big causes that we have an obesity, and then it's a sad thing. We are 17th in countries in life expectancy. 16 countries, the people in them live longer than we Americans do. And we've been taught that exercise doesn't do your body any good unless it hurts. Now that works for athletes. They have to ignore pain. But no pain, no gain is no brain. It's just stupid. Exercise for smart people doesn't hurt. Athletes have to go through pain. They ignore that wonderful built-in warning system our body has because they're going to be the best in whatever their event is in the world, hopefully. And so it works for them. And the result is they're injured. They look like walking ads for Johnson & Johnson. They got tape. The Wimbledon tournament, I don't think I saw anybody that didn't have some kind of tape on some kind of joint. Knees, wrists, elbows, shoulders, because they just go right through that pain barrier. And what happens? They get injured. And so they play hurt. But us folks, 99.9% of us, should exercise, and it should be pleasant. It should be fun. It's a big turnoff to go and face a class and say, none of this is going to do any good until you're gritting your teeth in pain. That's just stupid. And like I said, that's the price that the athletes have to pay. They have to bear the pain and play hurt.
But not the rest of us.
We don't.
Yeah. Denny, we're out of time. Listen, thanks so much. We're going to get you on again, and we'll also extend an invitation to you to our sports show in Willimantic, where we could get into more of the basketball and your impressions of basketball and playing for Coach Wooden. And we burned it up so quickly. And listen, thanks so much. Continue, and I say to you, my friend, stay healthy and be well. And I can't tell you how honored I am to have you here today.
Thank you, and I'll leave you with this philosophical thought. Never ever judge another person till you walk a mile in their shoes. And then you'll be a mile away and have their shoes.
What more could we ask for? Denny, thanks so much. Best to Nancy. God bless. Stay well.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Denny Miller. Can't say enough about him. What an honor and a pleasure. Well, We come upon the end of another Connecticut Morning, the July 9th, 2013 edition, and one I know we will be proud of this time, because come back and see us in 2 weeks. We're putting together a show that we're sure is going to knock you on your tail, and thanks for being with us. Go out and enjoy what's really a warm day in Connecticut. Stay cool, be cool, don't be no fool, stay in school. See you in 2 weeks. Bye now.
I got some troubles, but they won't